Good morning, friends. It's great to be back with you, um, and again, have Mother's Day, or as I like to call it, All the Feelings Day. Um, for some, it's one of the best days of the year, right? It's handmade cards, breakfast in bed. Um, Anyone get breakfast in bed today? Okay, kids, you still have time. No, you don't. Breakfast is almost over. I'm just kidding. Lunch in bed, maybe. I don't know. Flowers arranged by a small human with questionable design instincts. For others, it brings a quiet ache. A name we don't say out loud, a photo we keep face down in the drawer. So let's take a breath together and just let all that be welcome here. Also, thanks again for the time off last week. I was supposed to go camping, but the trip got canceled. Our friends couldn't make it, so it got canceled. And I have to say, I've never been so relieved. I mean, don't get me wrong, nature is wonderful. It's beautiful. Friends are great. Conversations around the campfire late into the night, amazing, one of my favorite things. But coffee that tastes like boiled socks, hard pass. I think sleeping on rocks is for saints and squirrels, not for me. So it's okay. It all worked out. I did a week of nothing, which was amazing. So thank you for affording me that. I needed it. And you probably heard the news. We have a new pope, right? Leo the 14th, from Chicago, nonetheless. Chicago is a town that made me a Lutheran. So, but yeah, the first North American pope. I got to say, first North American pope. People saying first American pope. We've had American popes, but this is the first North American pope, and he's Augustinian. Does anyone know who else is Augustinian that we celebrate in this church? Doug, don't say. Anyone know who else was Augustinian? Monica. Martin Luther. Martin Luther was an Augustinian in the Augustinian order. The plot thickens. The plot thickens. So I'm not sure if this is all a theological joke or just God's way of trolling church history, but I'm so here for it, and I'm hopeful. I have hopeful vibes. I'll say that. So, but jumping in this morning, we met a woman named Tabitha, who is also known as Dorcas, which sounds kind of like the name of a 90s ska band. Any ska fans? Am I the only ska? Okay, thank you. Okay, all right. Ska was like punk with horns. Yeah, it was fun. It kind of sounds like they're bullying her, like Dorcas. Dorcas means gazelle. So maybe she was quick on foot. I don't know. But we're going to go with Tabitha for our time this morning. Tabitha. And Tabitha doesn't preach. She doesn't hold a fancy title. She stitches. She sews. She gives what she makes away. She's beloved. And then she dies. And her community does what we all do when our hearts are broken. They gather. They cry. They hold up the things she made like little artifacts of love. And then they call for Peter, who was not expecting to make a home visit that day. Peter was not trained as an EMT. But Peter shows up, probably still smelling like fish and road dust. And he doesn't give a sermon, right? He doesn't quote a psalm. He just clears the room, kneels, prays, and says her name, Tabitha, get up. And she does. She opens her eyes, sits up, and that's it. That's the story. Resurrection doesn't come with lightning or trumpets. No spotlight, no choir belting out Handel's Messiah. Just a name, quietly spoken. And she rises. Resurrection is often like that. It's subtle and interior. Not with fireworks, but with a flicker, a whisper. And here's where I see you in this story, Christ Lutheran Church in Aptos, California. It's almost like this passage in Acts was written for this church. Because this congregation, you are stitchers. I know a big part of your story, you have knit hope into hats for children with cancer at Jacob's Heart in Watsonville. You have sewed love into quilts and gifts and casseroles and cards. Some of you welcomed me with fabric when I first arrived. I still have it. I still see it. I still hold it. It reminds me that I've been stitched into something bigger than myself, a story bigger than my own, the community. This is Tabitha work. This is resurrection work. And this is what I think church is meant to be. Not just a place where we talk about Jesus, though that is important, but a community where we stitch each other back together. I want to zoom in tightly on what Peter does here because I think it's subtle but really important. He clears the room, right? He clears the room. Not with force or shame, but to make space. If you've noticed, sometimes the loudest voices in the room are the ones that say, it's over. Call it. You're done, right? It's too late. The voices that lash out in blame or shame or anger, right, are usually the loudest voices. I mean, have you been on the internet lately? Peter clears those voices out. And then from the quiet, he speaks, Tabitha, get up. Now, this isn't just something that happened in a town called Joppa some 2,000 years ago. This is something that happens in each one of us. Because we all have that room in our heart, the one where we've shut the door, turned out the light, said, yep, we're calling it. This part's over. Maybe it's the dream you buried, the confidence you lost, the faith that you once had, the faith that moves mountains, right? Or at least it gets you out of bed with some semblance of joy in the morning. But then something happens. Maybe not dramatic, maybe not loud, but something or maybe someone speaks your name. You feel it. Maybe not in your ears, right? But somewhere deeper in you, like a thread tugging gently at your heart. And maybe you open your eyes. Maybe you sit up. Jesus, like we spoke about over here, once said, my sheep hear my voice. I know them. I know them. This isn't about doctrine or dogma or checking all the right answers on a Lutheran test, right? This is about being known. It's about someone saying your name in the way that only someone who truly knows you can. That's resurrection. It's not a flashy show, but it's a remembering, it's a being seen. This word belonging has been living in me lately because we live in a world where people are hyper-connected but not known. Hyper-connected but not known. So why church? Why this place? And it's not because God rents office space here. It's because here we get remembered. Like literally remembered. Sewn back into the body. Someone notices when you're gone. Someone saves you a seat. Or someone steals your seat and you have to practice forgiveness. Someone says your name, not to call you out, but to call you home. See, Tabitha wasn't the loudest, but if she hadn't been there, the room would have felt incomplete. And it did feel incomplete, which is why the widows were crying and weeping. Maybe today you feel like a loose thread, a drop stitch, a name forgotten. But I promise you, you still belong. Now, some of us had moms who steadied us with a look, others whose absence still stings. Some longed to be moms, and that ache that you're feeling, it's sacred. It's truly sacred. Some are moms and feel like you're not enough. Spoiler alert, you are. I've said this before, so I won't go into the weeds too much, but I lost my mom when I was 16 to cancer. I'm her only child, and it wasn't peaceful. There were sharp words, unmet expectations, and really, really messy grief. We were both trying to hold each other up while the ship was sinking. But even in all that, her love never let go. Sometimes when the house is quiet, I can still feel her presence. Not as a memory, like a in the head thing, like a memory, but something alive. Like a gaze from beyond that reminds me, Jonas, you're still held. So if that's you today, wherever you are in the vast mothering spectrum, high to low and everywhere else in between, maybe you jump back and forth day to day or minute to minute. I know a little bit living with a mom, how that is. You are not your regrets, and you are not your perfection. You are God's very own beloved child. And the same voice that said, Tabitha, get up, still speaks your name. So whether you're soaring in joy today, amen. Amen to that. Hang on to that. Or if you're barely stitched together, amen to that too. Whether you feel like a glorious quilt or a tangled mess of fabric just crumpled in the corner, whether you believe it or not, the voice is still speaking, still whispering, still inviting. Get up. You still belong, and you always have. I want to take a moment to center us in the presence of the living Christ who calls us by name and brings us into new life. So just take a minute to close your eyes and breathe. Relax in your seat, knowing that it's supporting you. I'll pray. Loving Christ, mothering God, we come from joy and sorrow, from fullness and ache. Some of us delight in the mothers and the children we hold close. Some of us grieve what never came to be. Some of us carry guilt or shame. Some of us feel unseen. And still your grace gathers us in. You speak into every heart. You are mine. I love you. You belong. You are the life beneath our life, the presence that never leaves the room. Where we feel stuck, you are already moving. Where we feel numb, you are warming us. Where we feel alone, you whisper our name. The endings of our fears do not have the final word. You do. And you always have one more move beyond what we could ever imagine. So we sit up now, softly, slowly, surely, because your resurrection has found us. Not because we've earned it, but because you delight in giving it. And so it is. And so we go. Amen.